Hi, this is Kelsey Blaho, and we are going to be talking about EDL 851, Module 12, which is copyright in the computer regulations governing technology. So I'm just going to break down a case study. So now, section number 1, summarizing the case, when and where did certain events occur. So it's at St. Regis School. It's about 25 miles away from a large city. It's K through 8. There's about 420 students and 2 teachers per grade level, so a pretty small school, small town. There's only 1 special education teacher, that kind of thing. 2 grocery stores, 1 drugstore, and then when students are ready to go to high school, they get bused to a large city. So, just a super small town. So lots of people involved in this case. So we have Mr. Sample, who's the principal now for over 3 years, and he's really focusing on building relationships with people, that kind of thing, but he's got their support now. Then the PTA, which helps with fundraising, and then there's a PTA president, that kind of thing that works with the school. Miss Williams, an experienced teacher. We'll get to it a little bit more later, but she's not concerned with copyright violations throughout the case. Miss Brandon, a new teacher with less than 3 years of experience. She's very concerned about the copyright violations because at the school before she was at, they were very strict about it. Then Miss Lynn, part-time computer assistant, offered full-time position as computer library assistant. So she kind of helps with the different technology side of things. And then Miss Evans, she's the PTA president, help with making copies. I was excited to be saving money, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But here's kind of the whole who, when, where, that kind of thing. So just kind of continuing on with that. What's happened, what's happening. So fundraising for new computers. So they got 20 in a computer lab, and then they're able to purchase software for a couple years. So library media specialist retired. No one applied, so they got a waiver for a teacher assistant to fill that position. So Mrs. Lynn stepped in, became that person. So they prioritized a list of software for it. And then this is where it gets kind of sticky. So Mrs. Lynn downloaded a copy to each classroom computer, basically. So she gave each teacher a flash drive that they could have a copy in their classroom. So I just pulled a quote from there. Despite copyright restrictions that govern reproduction of multiple copies without permission from the author. So like I said, there's some kind of copyright issues with her making copies of it. Miss Lynn was really frustrated and upset when Mrs. Brandon confronted her about the copies. So Miss Brandon, again, is one of the other teachers. She's like, hey, these are copyrighted. Miss Lynn didn't take it very well. Miss Brandon went to Mr. Sample, very uncomfortable, talked about the copyright law, people using different software programs, that kind of thing. And then they even pulled in Miss Evans, who was also a part of it. Again, PTA personnel who was super pumped about saving money, excited about it, that kind of thing. So this is kind of the situation. So Miss Lynn, kind of frustrated, upset. She's like, why is everyone mad at me? I'm saving us money. Everyone's getting what they want. But then there's this copyright policy in place. So trying to navigate what to do next. So what didn't happen? So there wasn't really discussed any like repercussions or anything that was going to happen, but Miss Brandon said that lots of stuff could happen depending on the situation. So parties involved. So I kind of touched on this a little bit already, but there's a lot of fundraising events that occur with PTA to get the new computers and software. And then we got Mr. Sample upset. What is happening? Needs to gather more information. Miss Williams, again, not very concerned about it. Mrs. Brandon, very concerned. Miss Lynn, proud of herself for saving money. And then Miss Evans helped with making the copies, saving money, that kind of thing. So section 2, any legal or ethical issues. I don't think anyone was harmed in this by their actions. So again, no physical harm, but some people's career might be jeopardized, especially if that company finds out about the copyright and the copies being made. Does it contravene any laws? So yes, making multiple copies of commercially produced computer programs that are copyrighted. So big thing there. So this could be a breach of contract, but we don't really know what's in Miss Lynn's contract because she is a teacher assistant. And then there was no discrimination or harassment involved. So there is kind of some interference happening with the lack of action because, again, we don't know what's happening or what he's going to do. So again, this can affect the students because it could take away their access to different programs. It could also get the school in a lot of trouble as well. So kind of depending on how he responds, it could have some repercussions to it. Section 3, Miss Lynn, the library media specialist doesn't feel remorse for making copies of software and distributed to teachers within the school, which is against copyright laws, and Mrs. Brandon discovered it and reported it to Mr. Sample. So here are some of the facts. People, we got Mr. Sample, principal, PTA, Miss Williams, Mrs. Brandon, Miss Lynn, Miss Evans. So that's what we know. And then place, St. Regis, small school, some programs, PTA. That's what we know about. So there's some stuff that we don't know, but I feel like it's pretty detailed on what we do. So again, what's detailed above is what we know about the situation. We do not know what the principal is planning on doing or what Miss Lynn's punishment is, that kind of thing. So that's what we kind of have to figure out. There isn't a lot of unknowns with this. But I feel like the biggest thing is what the district policy is. We don't really know. So figuring that out will be really helpful to kind of make that next decision about who gets punished, how do they get punished, if they do get punished, that kind of thing. So I think that's important to know too, is what the policy is. So I wanted to include this. This is background information included on the case study. It talks about the Copyright Act in 1980 and kind of its amendments. So they remain vague in some areas of software use since application to education, where the law itself is vague. Software licenses tend to be much more specific. It is therefore imperative that educators review the software's copyright page and understand the licensing restrictions printed there. So that for sure needs to happen. Some teachers, schools, employees, they create their own district policy that gives clear parameters for technology use, including software. So we also don't know that either. So I think knowing this information is really beneficial. So prioritizing information, yes, the conflict could be damaging to the PTA, just having that relationship with the fundraising, especially since the president was involved. So I feel like that could be a tough situation. And then just community, since it is such a small town. Who has important stake? I think teachers have an important stake because Miss Lynn gave them all copies. Less stake, I would say Miss Brandon, because she came forward about the situation. But I feel like everyone has a little bit of stake in this, from students and their success to teachers and kind of what could happen. Have all of the relevant stakeholders been consulted? As Mr. Sample, I would consult the high school, talk to library media specialists, discuss with PTA, just get more information, especially about the district. So learn more about the situation. Again, maybe reviewing copyright laws, wisdom on how to handle it. Again, I think there is enough information, but I'd still gather more. So gather more information. Could fire Miss Lynn, destroy all the flash drives, have her take a copyright class. Could fire a PTA president and get a new one. Gather more information on copyright policies, that kind of thing. Could destroy all the flash drives. Or just do nothing and just kind of let it happen. So these are just kind of a bunch of different options. I'll walk through what I decided here. So pros and cons, get rid of flash drives, so just be done with it all. Do a training on copyright laws for media staff, department leads, that kind of thing. Create a district policy. That could be really helpful. Some cons, maybe we could fire Miss Lynn and get a new PTA president, but we need to also hire new people. So want to try and avoid firing people because, again, small town, don't have very many applicants, and Miss Lynn probably just didn't know any better. So there's kind of some pros and cons. So my plan, gather more information from other teachers about flash drives, get information from the district on copyright policies, discuss ideas and options with other admin, ask for flash drives back, destroy all of them, send Miss Lynn to a copyright class to learn more about what is allowed, what is not, purchase more software, one for each grade level so that they can share or check it out, again so copies aren't being made, have a staff train on do's and don'ts for copyright, create a district policy so everyone's on the same page, discuss budgets with PTA president, what is allowed, what isn't, how much involvement should they have, that kind of thing. So again, implementing what may happen, Miss Lynn and Miss Evans might get really upset and both leave so they could quit. Teachers might get really angry about giving the flash drives back. There could be a lot of different things that happen. Who needs to know? I think district, other administrators, that kind of thing, to kind of create a policy change. I think having direct conversations with people is really important, especially Miss Lynn, making sure that she knows what's going on. And then fairly informal with the full staff, but just making sure that they know that there are consequences for this. And then if the plan doesn't work or something goes wrong, I think it could be harmful. Miss Lynn might be really resistant and frustrated and upset, and then potentially letting Miss Lynn go. Obviously, it's not ideal, but that could be kind of worst case scenario. 10, so my concluding statements. So how does it correlate? So this case study relates to my understanding of the copyright law and how it has an impact on schools. So during this assignment, we were given a situation where there might not have been policies around copyrights in the district, and I proposed creating one so that we can avoid the situation in the future to make sure that all staff and students following the laws and policies as well as being successful in the classroom. How is this relevant to my current learning and impact what I do as an educator? So this assignment is relevant to my current learning because I might run into a situation where something similar happens. I know what I would do to deal with the situation, so just going through this and kind of figuring out my plan is super helpful. And this will impact me as an educator because I will be more aware of copyright laws, make sure I'm following them in my classroom, and just kind of keeping my eye out for things. And then how will this impact me as a future principal? So this assignment will impact the future as a building principal because even though our schools are larger where I'm at, so we'll usually have someone or multiple people in charge. Like for instance, at my school we have like 3 people. So they can help a lot with understanding this copyright stuff so it doesn't fall completely on my shoulders. So just making sure that they are up to date on those copyright laws and make sure that I'm hiring the right people for that. And so then everyone can be on the same page. So maybe creating different trainings and things like that for staff and sending out lots of emails about what's allowed, what's not allowed, here's some available software, that kind of thing. And then asking for requests too. So overall, this was a really interesting case and I learned a lot. Here's my references. Thanks for listening.